So, everybody, we are here with Rebecca Hall, the lead in the new movie The Night House. It comes out in theaters August 20th of this year, obviously, this Friday. And the story is a widow begins to uncover her recently deceased husband's disturbing secrets.
hmm
Rebecca, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Um, First of all, full disclosure, I caught this at Sundance 2019 or 2020.
Oh, 2020. Yeah.
Yes, and really enjoyed it. Um, but it's been quite the journey, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you can say that again. It's been a long road, but here we are. Finally, it's in theaters as it should be. Um, it was funny because actually the last film that I saw in a theater was this at Sundance. And
Oh,
I
you were
remember
there at the
thinking,
library?
yeah, I remember
Oh,
thinking
nice.
at the midnight screening, I remember
Yeah,
thinking, yeah, I remember thinking this is wild. This film plays so well with a group of people just
it
screaming, with the
does.
people literally jumping out of their seats. It was so much fun, and I was like, great! I can't wait for everyone to see this in theaters. And then, you know, then pandemic. But so I'm very happy that we actually waited and held on to it, and now it is going to theaters.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that yeah, I didn't go straight to streaming or VOD or anything like that because it's definitely a group movie. But
Yeah,
how
it
how did
is.
how did this project come about?
I suspect like any other project, I got sent the I got sent the script, I read it, I responded to the material. I thought the character was uh truly fascinating. I found her to be a kind of a little bit of a play on an already existing trope of a lady in a haunted house. Um, and I loved that she was in a moment of grief that renders her reality sort of obsolete, and she's just angry and drunk and confrontational and desperate to be haunted. And I think that's kind of I thought that was such a gripping premise because I thought there's arguably only one thing scarier than someone being frightened in a haunted house, and that's someone who wants to be frightened.
Yeah, it was what I found interesting about the film is that it got grief so right.
Yeah.
Uh, and what is that tie between grief and horror and that longing? I mean, it's such a fascinating connection, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think the film deals with a lot of big existential questions. You know, the villain is nothing. And if you think about that, that's loaded with a lot of intellectual, conceptual wormholes. And I think there are many, many readings of this movie. There is a purely psychological one, there is a purely supernatural one, there's a thriller one, there's a detective kind of one. Um, I don't know which one is the one. I think whatever you're grappling with existentially is probably what you're going to bring onto it.
Mm.
But yeah, I've lost my train of the initial question. I had a thought about this and now it's gone. It's come back.
It was the connection of horror and grief and just exploring that quagmire of
Yeah,
just
I think I
intense
think there's
emotion.
something I think there's something there because it's that thing of like what's scarier, the idea that ghosts exist or that they don't. If you're on the immediate aftermath of losing someone you loved, in this instance specifically to suicide when there's no inclination that it was coming, I think, the survivor of that is left with a like a huge questions about the meaning of everything. I mean, like if I didn't know him, then I don't know anything. I don't know what my reality is anymore. I like what wasn't he capable of? Maybe I should imagine the extreme version of monstrosity that he could be capable of so that I can deal with this thing that he was capable of. Maybe.
Mm. Yeah, it was it I think there are two moments in the film that I really connected with and I loved.
Mm,
Was the opening of the film with you shoving the
mm.
food into the trash.
Oh yeah.
It was like whatever. And then the moment where you just confront. things and share the suicide note with your coworkers.
Yes, I love that moment too. Yeah.
So, who is Beth? What is going on with her? Why does she treat those moments with such an abrupt aggression?
I think it's a lot to do with the specific moment of grief that this film deals with. Like I think that I can think of films that deal with the immediate aftermath and the funeral and all that sort of moment. And I can think of films that deal with it sort of 6 months down the road when someone's actively grieving but living their life. But I can't think of many films that deal with this sort of interim period when, the meals stop coming and people stop popping around to see if you're okay. And you're
Yeah.
just in a kind of nowhere land. And you haven't got to tears yet, even. I don't think she's in shock. And she's also, her natural state is fairly complicated. She
Mhm.
talks about dealing with depression. She talks about dealing with her own internal struggles with darkness and whatever that means. And so she comes at it with a lot of anger and instability,
Mm.
and I think that struck me as very honest. Um,
Yeah, agreed. Um, and I suppose that kind of bleeds into I guess, my final question, because this is kind of being released at a time when we're all eager to get back into the theaters, but the last thing we remember is, Invisible Man, The Hunt,
yeah.
things like that. What, why should people go to the theater and see this movie? What sets this ghost story apart from kind of everything else?
Because it's rooted in a lot of, I think it's rooted in something really human. I think that there's something that it'll get people no matter what. And I think that it is also genuinely thrilling. And I think that there is when a movie operates like that and succeeds, there is true catharsis that can happen in an audience, especially an audience that's carrying a lot of anxiety about whatever's going on in daily life, of which we all, frankly, have a lot of right now. I think there's an opportunity to come together and scream and process and laugh about it, and then also think about where that's left you. That is helpful and an experience that we crave, honestly, and have been craving and haven't been able to have. And now we can. So I think that is enough.
It's the reason to get out there and heal, basically. Yeah, Wes Craven said we don't go to horror movies to get scared. We go to like survive it.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. It's the laugh that interests me. It's
that's
not the
it.
moment when you go, it's the moment when you go,
Yeah,
that's the moment in an audience that you like long for with a horror movie. That's the experience that you want. And let me tell you, it really happens with this one. I saw it at Sundance and I've been like, yes, it has to be in a theater for that laugh.
yeah. It needs to be a big group experience, and it's a solid movie. Congratulations, Rebecca. This is a really good ghost story on many different levels, and the best of luck on this release. And
Thank
keep us
you.
posted on anything else that you do.
I will.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Take care.